Revealed. 3 foods seniors must avoid with blueberries for transformative health benefits. Linda couldn't believe her eyes as the headline jumped off the page, setting her heart racing. Standing amid her late husband's treasured collection of cookbooks, the dense silence of the house seemed to press in on her. She needed something, anything to pull her from the consuming solitude that filled the empty spaces. 3 foods? Avoiding them could be the key to a healthier life, a way to reclaim the spirit she once had. But could she really make such drastic changes at her age? As memories of her daughter Sarah flickered through her mind, Linda felt a heavy weight settle in her chest. Sarah had chosen the city life over the warmth of their home-cooked dinners and cherished family traditions, marking a painful rift between them. Would this newfound awareness about nutrition do more than just improve her health? Could it actually pave the way to mend their fractured relationship? The thought of Sarah dismissing her, shrugging off each attempt at reconnection with a wave of indifference, churned inside Linda like a storm. The rain outside beat steadily against the window, drumming out an anxious rhythm to match her racing thoughts. Suddenly, she felt despair wash over her. What if her friends turned their noses up at her dietary changes? They had always celebrated the nostalgia of hearty meals and the comfort of indulgence. Linda battled anxiety spiraling amidst these fears, hesitation clashing fiercely with a flicker of determination. This was beyond her. It was a fight for some semblance of respect from her friends and a desperate bid for Sarah's affections. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just then, she heard a knock at the door. The familiar faces of her longtime friends loomed on her doorstep, their skeptical expressions shattering her short-lived resolve. "You're really going to ditch everything we know for some blueberries?" Martha scoffed, her eyes filled with mock concern. The laughter of her old friends echoed in her ears as she felt the walls of her home closing in, wrapping around her heart with a suffocating grip. Frustration bubbled inside her, a mix of anger and hurt. Why couldn't they see her struggle? Why couldn't they see her fight against the tide of loneliness that threatened to engulf her? Each encounter like this only solidified her commitment, igniting an insatiable urgency within her. The farmer's market was bustling with vibrant colors and hopeful chatter. There, amidst the lively crowd, Linda met Joe, the enthusiastic nutritionist whose passion rippled through the air like electric energy. His curiosity about her goals invigorated her spirit, sparking the tiniest flicker of hope that maybe, just maybe, she was on the right path. But with the upcoming cooking contest looming in her mind, fear wove through her thoughts, unrelenting. Would anyone even taste her blueberry dish? Would it be enough to break through the veil of suspicion between her and Sarah? Deep down, Linda sensed this was about more than a contest. It was about proving to herself that it was never too late to carve her own path. With each mixing bowl full of berries, she felt desperation lace her determination tighter. Could she really transform not just her health, but her family as fragmented ties? And as the muted echoes of disapproval lingered at the back of her mind, Linda stood at the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into an uncertain future bursting with potential and fear, the deeper tension mounting with each passing moment. As dawn broke, Linda stood in her kitchen, the air tinged with the sweet scent of ripening blueberries. Stirring a bowl of vibrant odds and ends, a splash of almond milk, a dash of cinnamon, the bright explosion of blueberries, each movement felt like a deliberate, life-affirming act. The morning light revealed paths for change, not just outside her home, but within her heart and mind. Yet, doubt clawed at her, whispering insidious thoughts that questioned her very resolve. What if she failed? The thought thudded heavily in her chest. What if her dish at the cooking contest fell flat, a testament to her inability to change? But just bringing the idea to life felt like a small victory. With each ingredient she added, she envisioned Sarah's reaction. Could the deliciousness of her creation spark a connection, a bridge over the chasm formed by years of emotional distance? Linda cringed at the imagined rejection. Stepping back, She allowed herself a moment of reflection. This wasn't merely about adapting her diet. It was about re-establishing bonds that once flourished under the warmth of shared meals. Cooking for Sarah had once been a joyous act, full of laughter and stories. Now, the kitchen felt like a battleground, one where acceptance and rejection coiled tightly around her spirit. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, and it jolted her from her reverie. A reminder flashed across the screen. Cooking contest. 2 days left. Panic surged anew. The clock was unforgiving. Days prior, she had committed to being transparent with her friends about her journey. Eyes heavy with disbelief, they had welcomed her decision to embark on this path with derision rather than support. Now, Linda felt the weight of every skeptical comment. If she wanted validation, who better to seek it from than her peers? But did she need their acceptance to validate her choices? Resolving to test her newly forged identity, she decided to invite them over for a taste test. It was bold, perhaps foolhardy, but each time she envisioned their faces, skepticism softened into intrigue. As she planned, she felt a ripple of courage. This was her moment to assert her values, to show them it was possible to embrace health without sacrificing flavor or joy. The next day arrived, bringing with it a cacophony of emotions. As her friends stepped into her home, Linda sensed a palpable shift in the air. Tentative smiles replaced skepticism, curiosity taking over. But the anxiety lingered, a quiet hum beneath her excitement as they gathered around her kitchen island, an unusual warmth settling between them. Ready for a taste of something different? Linda announced, trying to sound more confident than she felt. She dished out the blueberry delight, her heart racing as she placed a spoon in each hand. The air thickened with anticipation. As her friends took their first bites, their reactions manifested in a mix of shock and pleasure, eyebrows lifting with each mouthful. Surprising, Martha said, her earlier laughter extinguished in a genuine tone of appreciation. Linda's spirit lifted, the blueprint of her journey began to take shape. Yet just when she thought her mission was succeeding, the doorbell rang. When she opened it, there stood Sarah, eyes wide as she took in the scene. Linda felt the tool of her ambition and fear all at once. This was the confrontation she had awaited yet dreaded. "Mom." Sarah's voice trembled slightly, caught between familial warmth and the estrangement that had characterized their relationship. Linda knew, as colorful fruits and laughter swirled around them, that this was her opportunity to confront not just her daughter's perceptions, but also the elusive connection she longed to rekindle. What would Sarah think of this transformation? Would she refuse the plate handed to her by a mother determined to change the narrative? As Linda breathed in deeply, knowing every moment was thick with potential, she braced herself for the conversation that could change everything. The room quieted as the door swung open wider, and Sarah stepped across the threshold. Linda's heart thundered in her chest as she met her daughter's gaze. She was not just confronted by Sarah's uncertainty, but also by the weight of their unspoken history. It felt as if the air around them had thickened, caught in that moment, swirling with the potential for both reconciliation and rejection. "Come in," Linda said, her voice steadier than she felt. She motioned for Sarah to join the group, reminding herself that this gathering wasn't solely about the food. It was about reclaiming a narrative that had veered off course. As Sarah reluctantly stepped closer, Linda took note of her daughter's guarded posture, arms crossed tight against her body, as if shielding herself from what lay ahead. Linda fought against her own instinct to retreat. Instead, she held her ground, placing the blue bowl of blueberry delight in front of Sarah. "Try this. It's different," she said, resisting the urge to soften her tone, trading confidence for desperation. While fear gnawed at her resolve, she recalled the vision she had nurtured, the connection she so deeply sought. Would the dish be the bridge? Sarah accepted the spoon, and time stretched as Linda watched her take the first tentative bite. The kitchen buzzed around them. Conversations picked up, laughter floated, yet here was this singular gaze, narrowed on the connection between mother and daughter. The bite seemed to take an eternity. Finally, Sarah's eyebrows shot up, surprise flickering across her face. "It's good," she said cautiously, glancing around, gauging her friends' reactions as if needing their approval to endorse her mother's efforts. Linda's heart skipped. "Really? You like it?" "Yeah, it's surprisingly sweet and healthy," Sarah said, the last word escaping her lips like a confession, as if acknowledging Linda's attempt struck a nerve, the nerve of change, growth. What do you mean by healthy? Martha chimed in, mischief glimmering in her eyes. You mean to tell me Linda can actually cook something that isn't laden with calories and guilt? The room erupted in laughter, an unfamiliar warmth showcasing that perhaps the tension had begun to thaw. Linda allowed herself a tentative smile. This was working. Or was it? Suddenly, Sarah's expression darkened. But can healthy really be good? She questioned, darting minor glances at her friends, challenging their skepticism and irony. Feeling the barb of her daughter's words, Linda's heart felt heavy. It can be. It's about balance, Linda replied, passion creeping back into her voice. I'm trying to find that balance, Sarah. For both of us. The conversation shifted, and as Linda engaged her friends discussing ingredients, plant-based diets, and culinary creativity, she felt a strength growing within her. She began to realize that her journey was not merely about food, but about breaking down barriers that had been built from years of hurt and misunderstanding. But as the laughter swirled around her, a flicker of doubt lingered within her. Was this just a fleeting victory? What if Sarah's acceptance today did not translate into understanding tomorrow? Was she prepared for the possibility that all of this could unravel before her eyes? Just then, Sarah set down her spoon, returning Linda's gaze with a cleared resolve. I want to understand more about this. About you, she said, a tremor in her voice that resonated deeper than any question of motherhood or food. Linda's heartbeat quickened. Could this be the start of a new chapter for them? Let us talk, Linda replied, the words tumbling forward with newfound urgency. But before she could brace herself for the dialogue ahead, one of her friends interrupted. So what's next on your culinary quest, Linda? As the weight of that question hung in the air, she sensed a tipping point, a pivot reached. Would her culinary journey become a shared experience, or would it expose deeper rifts? The knowledge that further exploration awaited filled her with both admiration and anxiety. I guess I'll have to discover that too, she said, eyes locking on Sarah's, the walls vibrating with possibility. And just as Linda prepared to carve her path ahead, a sudden thought struck her. What would it take to dismantle the barriers and forge true understanding between them? The chatter around the kitchen subsided momentarily, the question lingering like thick cream. Linda felt the pressure build in her chest as she considered her next move. It wasn't just about culinary success anymore. It was about genuine connection, navigating the labyrinth of emotion and misunderstanding that had accumulated over the years. She could see it in Sarah's eyes. There was a mix of curiosity and concern. Linda knew this was the tentative beginning of something profound. The air seemed charged as she leaned in slightly, a physical invitation for her daughter to join her on this journey. I think I want to explore more recipes together, she suggested, her voice low, almost conspiratorial. Sarah's expression softened, her arms slowly uncrossing as if shedding layers of defensiveness. You mean actually cooking together? Like just us? Yes, Linda said, feeling a surge of hope. We could make it a project. Learning new things, sharing stories, breaking bread, it could be ours. The thought of the culinary exploration felt tantalizing, yet intimidating. What if their shared time revealed deeper fractures rather than patching them up? Would Sarah even want to dive deeper into the intricacies of their relationship while sifting flour and chopping vegetables? I've wanted to spend time with you, Sarah admitted hesitantly, looking away for a moment before meeting Linda's gaze again. But every time I try to engage, I feel like what? Linda prompted, her heart racing, the boldness of her question catching her off guard. Like you just want to show me a different way to eat, rather than who you are, Sarah said, her voice firm yet plagued with uncertainty. I still remember all those times we fought about food and body image. That old weight settled back on Linda's shoulders. It was true, it was a recurring theme in their relationship, one that loomed larger than any recipe could resolve. I know it's hard to separate those issues from our relationship, she said, her words coming forth carefully. But I'm ready to change. Not just my cooking, but the way we relate. A silence fell over them, laden with unacknowledged emotions and painful reminiscences. Linda believed there was truth in her promise of change, but the vulnerability of that statement shook her core. Could she truly reveal her past struggles, the times she felt inadequate, the moments gnawed at by doubt? As if sensing her internal conflict, Sarah shifted slightly, the unspoken bond between them undulating in the air. "I don't want you to change for me, Mom," Sarah articulated, her expression softening. "I want you to change for yourself." Linda absorbed those words, letting them wash over her. It was a call to authenticity, a request to confront her history rather than bury it deep inside where the hurt had festered. What if sharing her struggle could foster true intimacy? What if she took Sarah's insight as a call to reintegrate herself into the roles of both a mother and a woman on a journey? "I promise to be real with you," she croaked, emotions thickening her voice. "To share not just the recipes but the stories behind them." Sarah nodded solemnly, and a flicker of hope ignited within Linda. They were on the precipice of a new engagement. But just before Linda could bask in the warmth of this budding connection, the question echoed again: what really lay at the heart of the conflict they both harbored? "I think we need to dig deeper, Mom," Sarah said, drawing in a breath. "What about all those times when you made me feel like I had to conform to a specific ideal? It felt more like rejection than love." The room had shifted, and with it, Linda's pulse quickened. That point of confrontation loomed just on the horizon. Would her pursuit of culinary exploration bring the healing she desired, or would it lead to a reckoning that might dissolve the fragile connection they were beginning to forge? As Linda prepared herself mentally for a new layer of truthful dialogue, a surge of determination enveloped her. She would not shy away from the challenge ahead, everything depended on it. She sensed a deeper revelation waited just beneath the surface, ready to reshape their relationship entirely. "What if we began with our own truths?" she suggested, the tremor of her voice betraying her nerves yet revealing her resolve. "What if, with each recipe, we explore one hard truth about ourselves?" The challenge hung palpably in the air, an evocative invitation to face the shadows lurking beneath their shared experiences. Linda knew that was the path forward, elusive yet necessary to nurture the bond they both craved. Would Sarah accept? The silence grew heavy once more, souls laid bare and trembling on the edge of discovery. Linda held her breath, projecting hope mixed with fear. The air hung thick with anticipation, a vibrant contrast to the usual clinking of cookware and sizzling ingredients that often filled the kitchen. Linda watched Sarah closely, feeling the weight of her daughter's gaze as they both stood on the precipice of revelation. Linda's proposition lingered between them like an unturned page, and she could sense the moment pulsing with potential. "I think that's a really challenging idea," Sarah finally said, her brow furrowing slightly in contemplation. "But if we're going to do this, I need to know you're ready to go deep, and it won't just be a surface-level exercise. It could get really uncomfortable." Linda took a steadying breath. This was no longer just about food. It was about their relationship. "I'm ready. I need to be honest about my past, about what I've struggled with," she replied, her words steadying her resolve. "But I need you to promise me that you'll be honest too. Everything we uncover matters." "Okay," Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it held a conviction that stirred something within Linda. "Let us start with today then. What should we cook?" "Let us try a family recipe," Linda suggested. She could almost feel the warmth of the memories brushing against her skin, a taste of nostalgia mingling with the fear of the past. "My grandmother's chicken stir-fry. I remember how we used to prepare the vegetables together." It was our time to talk. As the ingredients lined the countertop, Linda began to chop, the rhythmic motion a balm for her anxious thoughts. With each slice, she felt a growing awareness of the barriers she had erected over the years. Sarah moved alongside her, her posture tentative, stirring the rice with a careful focus that suggested curiosity but also hesitation. "Okay, so what is the first truth?" Sarah asked, her tone even but her eyes glinting with intensity. Linda hesitated, the question curling around her like smoke. She felt exposed already, the very act of sharing a family meal her grandmother once prepared profoundly intimate. "I've always wanted to be the kind of mother who provides a perfect meal, who nurtures through cooking. But I think I pushed that idea onto you. I expected you to have a perfect relationship with food much like I wanted to have with you." Sarah's expression shifted, a flicker of understanding illuminating her features. "It's like we were both trying to fit into these boxes, and when we failed, it turned into a battlefield." "Exactly," Linda affirmed, feeling a mix of nostalgia and regret. "I wanted to protect you from my struggles with food and image, but I ended up doing just the opposite. I should have been more open about my insecurities. That makes sense, Sarah replied thoughtfully, her voice quieter now, almost softer. I think you've always seen it as a way to keep me safe, but instead, it felt like you were throwing up walls around us. The weight of Sarah's words struck Linda. The circular path of pain, miscommunication, and heartfelt intention laid bare before them felt almost insurmountable. Yet, amidst the heaviness, there was also a sense of liberation in their exchange. But we can change that now, Sarah added, stirring the pot once more with determined strokes. If I can share my own truth, maybe we can break down those walls together. Linda nodded, her heart hammering at the possibilities. This exchange could shift everything. What is your truth? She asked gently, suddenly aware of the raw honesty being asked of both of them. Sarah paused, her gaze drifting to the counter before returning to meet Linda's. I've struggled with how I see myself. All those times you commented on my meals, my body, it felt like you wanted me to be someone else. I didn't think I'd ever be enough. Her words cut like the sharpest knife, deepening the raw honesty in their kitchen, where vulnerability simmered just as the ingredients did. Linda sensed that things were shifting, and they both stood on the cusp of a deeper confrontation, not just with each other, but with themselves. The simmering pot of tears, anger, and love bubbled under the surface. Realizing the graveness of Sarah's admission fortified Linda. Perhaps this was the revealing moment they needed. Tell me everything, Linda urged, her voice steady now with an unwavering belief that this journey was worth the discomfort. As Sarah began to unravel her truth, Linda realized that this was just the beginning. They were not simply cooking. They were crafting healing, and it tasted like a bittersweet awakening. But all at once, the doorbell rang, an unwelcome interruption that promised to disrupt their fragile connection. Who could it be? What new strain awaited them? As dread settled into the pit of her stomach, Linda knew this moment was critical. Would they confront whatever lay behind that door, or would it deter their newfound honesty? The tension raced through her, charging the air thick as they exchanged anxious glances. This journey was far from over. It would demand undeniable resilience. What awaited on the other side could reshape everything. The tension in the kitchen enveloped them, thick enough to cut with a knife, as Linda's heart raced in anticipation of what lay beyond the door. An unwelcome interruption at such a critical moment felt like a betrayal, yet it also sparked a flicker of resistance within her. She had laid herself bare, atmosphere charged with their shared truths. They couldn't afford to let anything disturb this fragile connection. Should I get it? Sarah asked, her voice barely audible, swept up in the weight of uncertainty. Linda shook her head slowly, unwilling to break the intensity of the moment, yet aware of the urgency pressing down on them. Let it ring. We need to finish this. But the persistent ringing nagged at her. It held an offbeat rhythm against the backdrop of their revelations, a beacon drawing away from intimacy back into the everyday chaos. Mom, it could be important, Sarah offered, her eyes darting to the door and then back to Linda. In her voice, Linda detected a tension that mirrored her own, caught between the need for connection and the pull of external distractions. Linda felt the gravity of her daughter's plea, realizing that this could also be a test. Would they allow outside influences to disrupt their journey of discovery? She took a breath, considering the depth of the courage they had shown so far, and decided, let us go together. The two of them approached the door side by side, a united front against whatever challenge awaited them. Linda's pulse quickened, her resolve steeling as she prepared to face the unknown. With every step towards the door, a different realization crept in. Perhaps learning to navigate discomfort was just as essential as confronting past grievances. It was a dynamic shift in their relationship, navigating the intricacies of vulnerability and boundaries, learning to stand strong against the tumult of outside pressures. As Linda turned the knob, she cringed at the fear that accompanied the uncertainties that loomed, but there was also a burgeoning sense of anticipation. Maybe this disruption would ultimately serve a purpose, injecting a necessary piece into their evolving narrative. The door swung open, revealing an unexpected face, a neighbor, holding a casserole dish in her hands, a welcoming smile brightening her weathered features. I brought this over for dinner. I thought you two could use some company. The fleeting moment of relief quickly dripped away, replaced by the weight of shared uncertainty. To choose the comfort of hospitality over the rawness of their current journey felt both tempting and burdensome. Linda's heart sank as she assessed the casserole, an unfair reminder of social expectations colliding with their sacred space of honesty. "Thank you. That's kind," Linda managed, forcing a smile, but her mind was already working through the implications. Was this distraction just what they needed? Or would it pull them away from the fragile honesty they had finally begun to cultivate? "Yes, thank you," Sarah chimed too quickly, excitement flashing across her face. Linda's heart twisted, her stomach clenched. In that moment, Linda was confronted with a dilemma. She could succumb to polite expectations, retreating from their significant discussion, or she could set a boundary that defended the hard-won ground they had discovered together. But choosing to prioritize their emotional work might risk alienating Sarah, who radiated eagerness for connection. The casserole could be the bridge back to safety, but safety might come at the cost of honesty. What were they willing to sacrifice for acceptance? Linda took a slow breath, feeling the weight of her decision coalesce into sharp focus. The door represented more than just a physical barrier. It symbolized the choices lingering in the air, each potentially altering their evolving relationship. "Sarah," Linda began, catching her daughter's gaze, and sensing the tension of their truths clashing with societal norms. "What do you think? Do you want to invite her in? Or do we keep our moment?" And just like that, the doorway to authenticity opened. A little wider, revealing not only who they were becoming, but also how they would navigate their lives moving forward. But what would Sarah decide? Would she prioritize the truth they almost anchored or the comfort of social nicety? The balance hung precariously, the tension thickening in the air yet again. The stakes had never felt so high. Sarah's gaze bounced between her mother and the casserole, her mind racing to process the conflict pulsing in the room. Linda could see the hesitation etched on her daughter's face, a struggle embodying the tension of their shared moment. "Mom," Sarah stammered, then paused, her voice hesitant. "I think I want to finish what we started." Linda's heart stirred with relief, but also unease. It was clear that Sarah felt the weight of expectations too. The temptation to maintain a facade of normalcy weighed heavily. Yet they had both tasted something deeper than politeness, a connection woven with the threads of vulnerability. "Okay," Linda said, her voice steady as she chose her next words carefully. "Let us tell her we're engaged in something important right now." As she spoke, a small part of her yearned for acceptance, for the ease that came with welcoming the neighbor in. But the growing strength of their connection and the desire for authenticity pushed against that yearning. Just as she felt the resolve reforming within her, the neighbor chimed in, misunderstanding their private exchange completely. "Oh, that's all right. It's just a little something. You still can chat while I'm here." Her cheery demeanor added layers of tension, pulling them closer to a choice they hadn't fully articulated. "Thank you, but I think we really need this time just for us," Linda managed, surprised at her own firmness. The words struck a balance between boundary setting and the possibility of alienation. Would Sarah appreciate her mother's assertiveness, or would it push her away? The neighbor's smile faltered slightly, confusion flickering in her eyes, giving Linda a moment to assess the situation further. "We've been having a really important talk," Sarah interjected unexpectedly, finding her voice. "It's about us." The neighbor's face registered a shift from confusion to a polite concern, clearly comprehending that this wasn't about dinner. "Oh, I see. I didn't mean to interrupt." "It's okay," Linda said quickly, gratitude swelling in her chest for Sarah's unexpected support. "But we really need to focus on this without any distractions right now." For a brief moment, a tension-filled silence lingered as they all processed the implications of what Sarah had just voiced. The neighbor glanced between them, sensing the gravity of the moment but unsure how to navigate it. "All right," she finally said, her voice softer, the casserole still clasped tightly in her hands. "I'll leave it by the door. But please, don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything." As the neighbor slowly retreated, the atmosphere shifted as if an invisible weight had been lifted. Linda turned to Sarah, who looked both relieved and apprehensive at their collective decision to prioritize their conversation over social norms. "Wow, you were brave," Linda acknowledged, genuine pride warming her tone. "It's tough to stand up for what we need. I didn't want to lose this moment." "It felt too important," Sarah replied, her voice steady now, emboldened by their shared commitment. With the door shutting behind the neighbor, They were left in the intimate space of the kitchen, the air thick with unspoken truths. They still felt exposed, yet there was a growing light illuminating the path forward. "What do we do now?" Sarah asked, her voice tinged with excitement and apprehension. Linda took a breath, sensing that this pivotal moment was not just about their revelations, but also about uncovering hidden capabilities within themselves. They were no longer merely seeking to understand their past, but rather equipping themselves with the tools to face the future fortified by honesty. "We dive into it," Linda said, determination coursing through her. "We confront what we've been afraid of sharing. We're not just mother and daughter anymore. We're evolving." The uncharted territory of their feelings loomed ahead, inviting them in with challenges and possibilities. As they settled back into the kitchen, poised for the deep discussions that awaited, Linda felt a rush of anticipation flood her body. They were both on the brink of revealing pieces of themselves that had long been shrouded in silence. "Let us start with what makes us afraid to face the truth," Linda suggested, her heart pounding. But even as she spoke, an unsettling thought crept into her mind. What if they weren't ready for the deepest truths yet? What if vulnerability wasn't enough to sustain them through the revelations to come? The world outside had faded, but within their kitchen, the moment of truth hung delicately, ready to tip one way or the other. What exactly would they uncover about themselves, and could that revelation strengthen their bond or ultimately challenge it? The stakes had never felt so high. The kitchen was enveloped in silence, the air thick with anticipation as Sarah's anxiety mixed with the warmth of her mother's comforting presence. Linda could feel the tide of their conversation shifting, but where it would lead was unclear. They were on the precipice of something that could change everything. "Okay, let us take a moment," Linda said, her voice steady yet soft, an anchor amidst the swirling emotions. "What do we need to share that we've been holding back?" Sarah glanced around, her eyes focusing on the window, as if searching for the right words among the cherry blossoms blooming outside. "I guess I've always felt like I had to keep so much bottled up. Like if I revealed too much, it would disappoint you." Her admission hung in the air, cutting through the tension with an honesty that felt both liberating and dangerously raw. Linda's heart constricted, recognizing the familiar shadow of expectation. "I never wanted that for you, sweetheart. I can't imagine how that might have felt." "I know. But sometimes I don't want to hurt you," Sarah replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "And when I tried to share how I felt, it would always lead back to what you expected." The revelation pierced through Linda, illuminating a truth she had long skirted around. She had viewed their relationship through a lens of her dreams for Sarah, investments of herself hoping to mold her daughter's future. The thought of having unwittingly stifled Sarah's true spirit churned in Linda's stomach. "Sarah, you have to understand that what I want for you isn't a reflection of your worth. It's me trying to protect you because I love you." The air shifted again, an unspoken acknowledgement passing between them. It was a moment of reckoning, where both mother and daughter faced the legacy of suppressed emotions. "I think I need to know who I am outside of your expectations," Sarah said quietly, her determination evident. "And I want you to be okay with that." Her gaze was direct now, searching Linda's eyes for assurance. For a brief moment, Linda felt the walls she had built around her own fears begin to crack. "It scares me to let go of that control. I don't want to feel like I'm losing you." "But you're not losing me," Sarah countered firmly. "You'll gain something so much richer, the real me." They sat silently, and Linda felt the walls around her heart teetering on the edge. The discourse they were engaging in was new territory, but with each exchanged word, they were painting a more authentic picture of their relationship. "What do you think I might need to share?" Sarah's question broke through Linda's thoughts. It was now her turn to unearth her own hesitations. Linda's breath caught in her throat. "There are things that I've been afraid to tell you, like my own struggles, my disappointments." "Mom," Sarah prompted gently. "Like, when I went back to work after you were born, I sometimes felt alone and unsupported. I had dreams too that I let slip away because I thought they wouldn't matter to you." The vulnerability of her confession wrapped around them like a fragile veil, creating a space that felt both suffocating and necessary. As the conversation dug deeper roots, Linda became aware of an unfamiliar thrill surging beneath her skin, a sense of emancipation as if each honest word was peeling away layers of expectations. Maybe we're both afraid of what lies ahead, Linda said, her voice reflecting the revelation settling into her mind. But if we keep moving forward with this honesty, maybe we'll learn to meet each other as we are. Sarah smiled, a tentative yet radiant expression transforming her features. Then let us keep going. We owe it to ourselves. What lay ahead still loomed daunting, the shadows of their past clinging. As they prepared to delve further into their truths, an alarming question bubbled beneath Linda's resolve. Could their newfound honesty withstand the realities of the paths they would each forge? The stakes were now raised, leaving them on the brink of discovery. It was unclear if they would emerge stronger or fractured, but they had taken the first brave steps. As they steeled themselves for whatever was to come, an unexpected sound shattered the fragile atmosphere, the sharp peal of Sarah's phone ringing, disrupting their delicate moment. Linda's heart raced. Who could it be now, and would it derail their fragile progress? The ringing intensified, pulling Sarah from the warmth of their conversation into an anxious reality. For a heartbeat, she hesitated, glancing at her phone as if it held the answers to questions she wasn't ready to face. The number flashing on the screen wasn't familiar, but a peculiar sense of urgency welled within her. "Should I get that?" Sarah asked, her gaze flitting between Linda's expectant expression and the phone. Linda nodded, though her insides twisted with unease. It felt like an interruption into their new territory, one they had just begun to navigate together. "Hello?" Sarah's voice held a mixture of trepidation and hope as she answered. Linda watched her daughter's expression shift from curious to alarmed, the color draining from her cheeks. Pressing her lips together, Linda braced herself for the anticipated fallout of whatever news had arrived. With a brisk, composed tone, Sarah engaged in conversation, but her body language told another story. The way she fidgeted, her fingers nervously tapping against the side of the phone, revealed unseen strain. Linda's heart thudded in rhythm to Sarah's increasing tension. Thoughts raced through her mind. Was this the moment everything would unravel? After a few moments, Sarah hung up, her expression a tumultuous blend of determination and dread. "It was my boss," she said, her voice wavering slightly. "I have a meeting tomorrow morning about my promotion." "Oh, Sarah, that's wonderful," Linda exclaimed, hoping to shield her daughter from the weight of unspoken fears. But Sarah's eyes darkened, and her smile tightened, revealing cracks in the facade. "Mom, I'm not sure I'm ready for this," Sarah confessed, her resolve slipping. "They're asking for a presentation, and I don't even know if I'm good enough." The words burned through Linda. She realized this was more than a job opportunity, it was a confrontation with Sarah's deepest doubts. "You are good enough," Linda insisted, drawing closer to Sarah, the space between them a battleground of past expectations and modern aspirations. "But what if I fail?" Sarah's voice cracked, vulnerability spilling forth. "What if I end up disappointing you again? Listen to me." Linda leaned in, her determination sharpening. "What you're feeling is normal. We've discussed how it feels to live in someone else's shadow. You've just taken steps toward being yourself. This is your chance to own who you are, in your career and your life." A flicker of understanding sparked amidst the fear in Sarah's eyes. Linda clenched her fists, sensing an opportunity to transform both their lives. "Prepare for that meeting, but do it as you. Not as who you think they want, but as the woman you want to become." Sarah inhaled sharply, absorbing the gravity of the moment. "But what if I show them my true self, and it's not enough?" "Then it's their loss," Linda replied firmly, her conviction anchoring the room. "You've learned to speak your truth with me. Now take that courage into the world. They want to see your worth if you're busy hiding." The weight of Linda's words lingered in the air, mingling with the intoxicating scent of cherry blossoms wafting through the window. Sarah's lips twitched, a mix of emotions danced across her face. "I guess I shouldn't worry about disappointing you anymore." In that moment, Linda recognized a crucial truth within herself. Their shared journey was not only about unearthing hidden emotions, but about dismantling the barriers of expectation they had both faced. "Exactly. Just shine, Sarah. You've got everything it takes." As they stood together, a newfound alignment blossomed between them. Their vulnerabilities no longer felt like burdens, but fertile ground for personal growth. Then, just as the tension in the room began to dissipate, the phone buzzed again insistently. This time, The screen illuminated an unknown number. With a shared glance, they both felt the brimming uncertainty of yet another challenge arriving uninvited. Who was it now? And would this call redefine their fragile progress even further? Sarah exchanged a wary glance with Linda, both feeling the weight of the call, the tension layered with the intimacy they had begun to cultivate. They had ventured deep into uncharted territory, revealing pieces of themselves long buried under expectations and disappointments. The emergence of yet another distraction felt like a test, a potential derailment at such a pivotal moment in their reconnection. Should I get it? Sarah asked hesitantly, her instincts battling her desire to prioritize their emotional work and face whatever lay ahead. Yeah, Linda encouraged, but remember what we've talked about. No matter what the news is, we can handle it together. Swallowing hard, Sarah answered the call, her voice steadying as she spoke to the unknown caller. Linda observed her daughter with bated breath, adrenaline racing through her as she anticipated the nature of the conversation unfolding. "Hello? This is Sarah," she said, her tone wavering slightly but resolute. The intensity of her concentration was palpable, her body poised as she listened intently. As words tumbled from the other end, Sarah's expression shifted from neutrality to doubt and anxiety. Linda's heart sank. It felt as if they were on a seesaw, precariously balanced with the risk of collapsing back into the struggles of the past. Moments stretched into eternity before Sarah ended the call, the silence of the aftermath heavy in the kitchen. "It was a follow-up about my presentation," she said, her voice shaken yet robust. "They want me to meet with the senior partners as well. Now I really have to prove myself." In one fleeting moment, the air around them crackled with both possibilities and tensions, amplifying Sarah's concerns. What if they don't like what I present? What if they think I'm not cut out for this role? Linda felt the urge to protect her daughter from her fears, yet she knew this was also a moment of opportunity for growth both for Sarah and for their relationship. "It's natural to feel anxious, Sarah. But remember, this is about you embracing who you are, not who anyone else wants you to be. You've cultivated your journey, and this is just a continuation of that path." Sarah's brow furrowed, the confidence slowly returning as she processed her mother's words. "What if they don't see my worth? What if they focus only on my mistakes? Then you need to believe in your own worth even when others don't. You've come so far on this journey of discovery with me, and now it's time to take those lessons into the world. You don't need their approval to validate your aspirations," Linda encouraged, a newfound strength surging as she spoke. As their eyes locked, a shared spirit of determination ignited between them. Sarah felt the warmth of her mother's support grounding her, providing an anchor in the midst of uncertainty. "You're right," she admitted, her voice trembling but resolute. "I won't let fear dictate my choices. But you have to be honest," Linda urged gently. Their connection had woven deeply essential truths, and they would both need to embrace vulnerability to press onward. Share your unique viewpoint, and if they can't see the value in what you offer, that's not a reflection of you. A renewed sense of purpose filled the small kitchen, shifting the atmosphere as they braced for the next steps on their respective journeys. Would Sarah present authentically? There was an undeniable power in their shared honesty, a transformative current that promised to strengthen them both. Just as relief began to wash over them, the phone buzzed again, startling both women from their moment of courage. This time, it was an urgent message from Sarah's work. "They want to schedule a rehearsal meeting tomorrow morning." Gazing into each other's eyes, the weight of impending expectations settled in. Linda felt a surge of protective instinct combined with pride. Sarah was moving forward despite everything tugging at her bravado, forging a path toward her own destiny. "Hey, no matter what happens tomorrow, I'm here for you," Linda reassured, her voice thick with emotion. "Let us spend some time preparing. We'll work together to make you ready." "You'd really help me?" Sarah asked, vulnerability flickering in her expression. "Absolutely. I'm proud of how far you've come, and I want to see you own it." The warmth of this exchange eclipsed the shadow of external expectations looming ahead. They both leaned into the moment, ready to embrace the unknown, ready to confront anything that might come their way together. Underneath the challenging layers of their discussions lay a deeper truth that anchored them. It was about embracing who they were, staying in the moment, and choosing to connect to authentically share in their experiences rather than shying away from the rawness of life. As they prepared for Sarah's important meeting, Linda was filled with newfound confidence. Tomorrow was no longer a distant worry. It was an opportunity to witness the fruition of Sarah's growth, and in doing so, Linda discovered her own strength as well. Through collaboration and confrontation, they were bound together in an intricate dance of honesty, each move revealing greater depths, and their relationship blossomed with each shared truth. They were both ready to dismantle their past, while forging ahead, learning to trust one another in ways they never thought possible. With the past lingering in their memory and the future shimmering towards them, Linda and Sarah strode toward this defining moment, hand in hand, each step a commitment to authenticity, open communication, and unyielding love. And as the door to the kitchen closed behind them, sealing their new determination inside, both women felt an exhilarating sense of empowerment rise within the journey of transformation had only just begun. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. We can't do this without you. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share.